There's a man who leads a life of danger. To everyone he meets, he says he's a stranger. With every move he makes, another chance he takes. Odds are you won't live to see tomorrow. Secret agent man.
Check. Yo.
Check baby, 1, 2, 3. Check baby, 1.
Hey, welcome to Spy Guys. It's the Tuesday night show, filmed here at Korchma Taras Boba, 24/7, Pushkinska, in Kyiv, the best Ukrainian food around. Our top story for tonight, war in Ukraine. NATO has once again said that it has seen an increased Russian military presence in eastern Ukraine. NATO seeing an increased Russian military presence in eastern Ukraine is like McDonald's employees seeing an increase in fat customers. It's like British dentists seeing an increase in bad teeth. It's like Italian tourists seeing an increase in hot girls on the beach in Odessa. Nadia Savchenko, the 33-year-old Ukrainian army lieutenant captured by Russia fighting in Donbass and shanghaied to Moscow on trumped-up murder charges, has spent the last month on a hunger strike, or as Russians like to call it, life. Russian Deputy Prime Minister Igor Shuvalov recently said, when a Russian feels any foreign pressure, he will never give up his leader. Never. We will survive any hardship in the country, eat less food, use less electricity. This coming from the man who is one of the richest public servants in Russia, said to be worth over $100 million. It's safe to say that he won't be missing any meals. After 242 days, Russian invaders have finally captured the Donetsk airport. Wow, 242 days. That's one labor-intensive trip to the airport. That's like the time I tried to catch a taxi from Manhattan to LaGuardia. Now notice that I said Russian invaders, and not whatever PC term the Western media has chosen to use. Here at Spy Guys, we like to call a spade a spade. And with more on that, here's our chief Ukrainian correspondent, Jeff.
Thanks, Alfie. Russia has invaded Ukraine. Now, I know that many of you out there have read in the papers or seen on TV information about Ukraine battling pro-Russian insurgencies, or Moscow-backed rebels, or Kremlin-backed separatists. Why are we not calling it what it is? A Russian invasion. When the Beatles and the Rolling Stones were on top of the American music charts, they called it the British invasion. It wasn't called an English-backed insurgency. My favorite video game when I was a kid was called Space Invaders. It wasn't called Pro-Alien Rebels. When roaches invaded my kitchen in Los Angeles, nobody called it a bug-supported insurrection. So why is it that nobody wants to call what's happening in eastern Ukraine a Russian invasion? We here at Spy Guys like to tell the truth. And when Russian tanks, Russian soldiers, Russian propaganda, Russian artillery is all over eastern Ukraine, and when Russian soldiers are going home in zinc boxes, at Spy Guys, we're going to call that what it is. That is a Russian invasion. Putin is well aware of the weakness of the West. Freedom of speech, objectivity in journalism. We don't do state-sponsored propaganda. The Russian government doesn't just lie. The Russian government doesn't believe that truth even exists. There are many people in the West who say that there are no military solutions to the Ukrainian conflict, that there are only diplomatic solutions to the conflict. Now, if that's the case, let's take a look at the Minsk Agreement, which was signed by both Ukraine and Russia. How did Putin treat that? Well, he resupplied his forces. He sent anywhere up to 15,000 troops into Ukraine. He sent tanks, artillery, armored personnel carriers, and rocket systems into Ukraine, and he mounted an offensive. So you tell me, are you going to make a living making deals with professional liars like Putin? And those of you in the West who want to continue to call this a Moscow-based insurgency, there's going to come a time in your future where you're going to look back and say, I wish that I had called this what it is. This is a Russian invasion, and it's about time we call it what it is.
Thanks, Jeff. Now, for a new segment we'd like to introduce, we call Inside the Numbers. Currently, the price of oil is $45.32 a barrel. The ruble is now 63 for $1. 9,000 Russian troops are in Ukraine, 5,000 total casualties. Civilians killed, 4,838. Civilians wounded, 10,545. Soldiers killed, 1,373. Soldiers wounded, 4,203. Russian soldiers killed, 6,242. And displaced people from Donetsk, Lugansk Oblast, and Crimea, 850,000. And the best number of all, the guy who's brought you all of these numbers, Russian President Vladimir Putin, his approval rating, 70%. Thanks a lot, Russia. So, that's our show for tonight. Thanks again for joining us. We're here every Tuesday night, and thanks to Korchma Taras Boba, the best Ukrainian food in Kyiv. Good night, everybody.